I mean, I would love to see a world where Rolexes are in stock. That seems rational to me. I mean, it shouldn't be a pseudo financial instrument.
Not going to happen.
It's what it currently is.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Yeah, well, they're going to open a new factory, so
okay, that could happen.
They're putting a lot of money into it.
You get bandwidth there.
But Patec's not.
Master marketers.
Like, I don't think Patec's got another factory. But look, Rolex makes 1 million watches a year. Patek makes 20K.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
It's a 50x difference.
Let's talk about technology moving forward, because you've got Ethereum, which is, I believe, their shift obviously over to proof of stake. The model in which Ethereum could go in the next 10 years. You look back, I mean, that's still somewhat of a dated technology, in comparison
oh my God, proof of stake failed. You can just flip it back to proof of work.
No, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. What I'm getting at is, do you think there is the potential for a revolution around a next generation blockchain product, service, software, whatever we want to call it, that could displace the power of what we have created so far? What do you think?
You start running into computer science problems that are unsolved. There's a cap theorem that's like, you can either have redundancy or low latency or some other thing. And then there's like, you can either have throughput or security. You can either, there's all these trade-offs you can't get around. Like in normal life, it's, do you want good, fast, and cheap? Pick any two.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you can't, it's very, very hard to overcome. Yeah. So
for sure.
We've pushed, sharding on Ethereum is late by 10 years or something.
Yeah, exactly.
7 years, something like that. It could be easily another 7 years before you get sharding. And that's the only real throughput increase thing. You could hope for composability across L2s. I'm sure everyone listening knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm a genius, but you guys listening, probably retarded. Sorry. So half the stuff I say, you're going to have to Google it. Go Google blockchain composability, okay? It means that one chain can talk to another chain. So for instance, like Pulsechain, the copy of Ethereum, will be lightly composable against Ethereum by using bridges. So you do your computation on Pulsechain very cheaply, and then you can bridge over to Ethereum when you need. And then if you don't need, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So bridges are kind of what we have for interchain composability now.
Right. What are your thoughts?
And let me tell you, billions of dollars have been lost to bridges, which is nice because with Pulsechain, you already get a copy on the other side. You don't have to bridge over. Your stuff's already there for free. Yeah. So that's really cool. It reduces attack surface.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on, I have a lot to go in. I don't want to get too far into ZK AVMs and what that might look like in the future, because there are some potentials there. There's some good movement in the space in terms of tech updates.
Please give us some anonymity, please. Big anonymity set, please, God. You cannot have a capitalist society without privacy. It is not okay that your customer has to disclose. In Ethereum, when you send someone money, they have a record of any transactions you've ever done, ever. Period.
Yep.
Who sent, when, what went out, what went in, your total balance. So imagine if you paid your employees from a single account. Oh, now everybody knows everybody else's salaries. Yeah, imagine you paid your distributors. Oh, everybody
knows the contract.
Nonsensical.
Yeah.
You need privacy. You need mixing. You need the same rights in the digital world you have in the analog world.
Exactly.
In the analog
I still think
world,
AI is going to
my credit card, you don't know my balance.
I think AI will solve this in the future in terms of some sort of layer. Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah, it's going to happen.
No, you can't just buzzword salad people. They're tangential. They're orthogonal. They're not related. AI has nothing to do with privacy. Nothing.
No, I'm not talking about
As a matter of
privacy.
fact, AI is used
I'm not
to
talking
get rid
about
of
privacy. Not talking about privacy. What I'm
talking
talking about is the computational method that it's going to need to be able to do what you're talking about, which is protecting privacy.
I think this is quite similar to the dead futurists of 100 years ago talking about the robots that will be making my sandwiches. It's 100 years later,
that's happening
and I'm still making my sandwiches myself. No, it's not, bro, or I would have one right now.
Yeah, in commercial, it's happening, yes. Robotic,
I'm telling you.
Commercial application, it's happening. I'm telling you, I know this. We can
I'm
argue.
ready for my sandwich making robot. Listen, I have a $40,000 Louis Vuitton bag shaped like an airplane. I have two $20,000 Louis Vuitton bags that just
That's
light
all
up,
you would need to sell.
right?
One of those bags, you're going to have one of those in your kitchen tomorrow.
I'm ready for my sandwich robot, man. But what I'm trying to say is that
the one I would go with is the
underestimate
pizza guy.
complexity.
Yeah. Well, that for sure.
People underestimate complexity. So, because, like, the thing that you understand more is the thing that you think is harder, and the thing that you understand less is the thing that you think is easier. So it's easier to appeal to the gray box suitcase word, kick the can down the road of AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Yeah.
It's easier to do that than it is to actually talk about what's working today, which is machine learning. And they're almost the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can take machine learning and analyze people's hacker news posts. Yeah, you can analyze people's hacker news posts and de-anonymize all of them. So if you have alt accounts that you post under, it will analyze the way that you've written, and
why
it
do
will
you
find
think
all
that
your
has
hidden
not
accounts.
been implemented? Why do you think that has not been implemented into security layers for blockchain?
Which part?
In the essence of machine learning and the ability to be able to really stack on top of blockchain to solve the problem that you're talking about, which is
because there's no
security.
throughput. The blockchains have no throughput. You cannot run a currency for any popular video game on a blockchain. None. It doesn't matter what game it is. So there is no throughput. The only time you ever use a blockchain
going forward.
Who cares?
It can be.
We want to get rich.
Achieved?
You don't need scalability for getting rich.
Well,
do you want scalability? It works fine. Like Amazon is working fine with over 50% of the internet sales in the United States every year.
Yeah, but Amazon doesn't work
fine
until it got to scale. You know, Amazon was when it's selling books, it wasn't working fine. You know, that it only became sentient when scalability leveraged in to become the most dominant retailer on the planet.
I'm happy to replace Amazon with any other successful tech company. Exactly zero of them use the blockchain. It's not necessary. It's irrelevant to them. They don't need censorship resistance.
Wasn't needed.
No, they just don't need censorship resistance. You don't need
exactly.
Blockchains are only useful for censorship resistance. They don't need it. No one's trying to censor your database records. Your inventory. Put it on the database. No one's trying to censor it.
Let's go back in. Okay, good. Let's go back in.
NIST has a flow chart that's like, do you need a blockchain? No.
Yeah,
and that's the end of the flow chart.
Let's go back into talking about regulation, where stablecoins may fall out.
Sure.
Do you think it matters? How do you think the U.S. is going to respond to this now that everything's heightened?
I think the government should be extremely happy that stablecoins exist because they just pump their fiat currency bags. Everyone that's in crypto that's in a stablecoin is literally just buying the dollars of some country.
Yeah.
And then guess what? If you don't like stablecoins and you don't want people putting, 40 or 50 billion into your coffers, another country will do it.
Yeah.
And guess what? You don't have global hegemony. You don't get to choose what other countries do for their central bank digital currencies. And so if a central bank digital currency decides to make a real one instead of a fake one that doesn't have admin keys and lets people actually use it, maybe that'll overtake the dollar as a global hegemon. And so maybe they should be really fair and really nice. I mean, Tether's offshore, and offshore leaves you with, in general, more counterparty risk.
Yeah.
USDC is onshore. In general, less counterparty risk. But it depends on what your attack vector is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It depends on what your attack vector is.
Well, your attack vector.
If you're Iranian, I don't know which one's better. Probably neither of them.
For most of the financial global markets being led by the three countries of the world, obviously US, UK, to some extent China, maybe Russia. USDC's probably got at least 2/3 of that market share in terms of value proposition to an investor. Or
shouldn't they though? I mean, they have the most liquidity, and they seem to have the most upstanding, audits. Like their audits are their best. Their licensing is the best. The companies they work with are the largest. They're in the States. So
what do you make of this Binance proof of reserve removed from their auditor's site? Do you think there's anything there?
Do you care what an auditor you've never heard of says?
Heard of?
It's like, I've never heard of them. Cool.
It's